Howdy folks, Jambriki here, and yes, as you can hear, I have a brand new microphone. I'd like to give a big special thanks to the following people for helping to fund it. Chris McLaughlin, Jacob Below, Karan San, Petra Espinoza, Ryan McNeely, Kieran Firth Bernard, and Pierre Lucas Schuller. Apologies if I missed anyone, you've all helped improve my ongoing videos from now on, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. Anyway, today I'm going to be doing a Patron requested review of the second Spider-Verse movie, Across the Spider-Verse. In this follow-up to Sony Animation's hit movie, we follow Miles and Gwen as they end up joining a secret society of multiverse spider-folk, all while having to go up against a new supervillain called the Spot. However, said mission is interrupted when Miguel, the head of this underground organization, says that it's destiny for Miles' dad to die, and that letting his father live will rip a fabric in the multiverse. I put this film at number 2 in my animated movies of 2023 list, and I guess that I still stand by that choice. I mean, it had potential to be my number 1 that year, but it was up against Hayao Miyazaki's magnum opus. And well, Across the Spider-Verse isn't without its flaws. Even masterpieces can have fallacies, and criticizing a great movie doesn't suddenly take away its worth or legacy. As long as you're not just pedantically grasping for complaints for contrarian's sake, I think it's fine to debate the weaknesses of a masterpiece. So, without any further ado, let's dive into the imperfect gem known as Across the Spider-Verse. To be honest, it's hard to know where to start with this behemoth of a movie. I guess I'll begin with how the film tries to settle its audience back into their seats. Well, I do think that this sequel's intro finds that fine line between building up the movie ahead while updating everyone on where things are now, with help from snappily paced narration and colourful dynamic editing. Across's intro gives a good rundown on what we need to know about where Miles and Gwen are at, while also establishing what this sequel will be all about.
I guess hosted Jeopardy! Endorsed baby powder. Apologize for endorsing baby powder. I made a mistake.
Sure, there's some heavy beats right from the get-go, and the film holds no punches when it comes to these opening serious scenes.
Anything you say can and will
Dad,
be
are
used
you
against
really
you in a
this
court of
afraid of
law.
me?
You have the right to an
Dad,
attorney.
stop!
However, this weighty drama is balanced out by double hero versus villain fights, both of which perfectly mix creative villain gimmicks with compelling action and the usual dry-witted quips and jabs that we've come to expect.
Where are you from, bud?
I am an artist, an engineer.
Oh, great. A Renaissance man.
So while we do learn that the film ahead is going to be covering some weighty relationship conflicts, we're also assured that said drama will be broken up with the usual Spidey sarcastic banter and exhilarating fights against ridiculous baddies. It's a good way to introduce this sequel. Very good even. As fun as it is to be back in the roller coaster seat again though, what about the meat of the film? Well, what I think really solidifies the Gwen and Miles plotlines is how they're tied together thematically, yet also differ a lot. Let me explain. Thanks to Gwen outing herself to her dad, and Miles struggling to confess his Spidey secret to his parents at the same time, we end up with juxtaposed plots centered on a closeted Spidey and a recently unmasked one. We get to see Miles contemplating his fears and the possible consequences of unmasking.
I mean, would they get it if I told them?
We love you and accept you even though you have been lying to us for a year.
But we also witness what Gwen faces after her reveal, at a time when her alter ego is a wanted criminal.
You know, you put on that badge because you know if you don't, someone who shouldn't will. But you have to understand, this mask is my badge.
Leaving us to ponder what would we do in their shoes. Would it be worth revealing our superhero identity to loved ones to escape the guilt? And would telling said truth actually lead to a more peaceful life?
I mean, my parents. Maybe if I told them.
Don't. Trust me on that.
It's vital to also recall that these are teenagers too. So all of these complex emotions are twice as overwhelming for Miles and Gwen, because they're still trying to work themselves out, understand the grown-up world better, and make the right life choices. Hence why Miles and Gwen respond to their dilemma like most normal teenagers would. The unique thing about this franchise is that it puts people at a difficult age into superhero roles, and explores how they'd realistically react to such a mature burden. So it makes sense that these heroes respond to their feelings with guarded walls and hostile emotions.
I am 15 years old. I am basically an adult.
Oh, right,
You don't even have a driver's license.
Neither does Mom.
Because we live in New York and never plan to leave.
It's all a part of the teenage rebellion phase, and masks can't hide this very natural stage of growing up. This is why Miles and Gwen reuniting hits so hard. Yeah, it's moving to see these long-distance friends seeing each other again, especially after assuming that the last time they saw each other would be their goodbye, but they also get to reconnect at a time when they need someone to relate to. These are two souls that happen to be dealing with parental turbulence and a desire for independence, while also harboring the same unique secret. These two can relax around each other because they give each other what others can't.
You and me,
We're the same. In the important ways.
A resonance that's extra special when we know that both of these kids are already struggling to find real friends in their own lives.
I have more friends than just Genki.
Like who?
Well, there's Peter, but he left town.
But this is also a film about parenting at the same time. Sure, we're being asked to sympathize with our teen superheroes, but those that are raising them are given equal understanding. These aren't Primrose perfect parents, but they're also not the lowest scum. They're just normal, everyday grown-ups trying to raise their kids the best they can. Sure, they can be strict and no nonsense, but they can also show love and support. Their hard time comes from working out how to balance being disciplinary and nurturing, while also trying to be responsible adults in society themselves. Parenting isn't like a corny 1950s nuclear family sitcom. It can be rewarding, but it's also messy, demanding, and challenging. I mean, when these parents let their guards down, they can be just as vulnerable and uncertain as the kids they're trying to guide.
Just think you're getting pretty good at being a parent. You think you got it lit. And then they go and grow up. I just don't want to lose them, you know?
All of these parents have to learn to respect their kids' independence while still being authority figures that can help these teens transition into being mature adults. I'll admit that it doesn't take too long for some of these parents to change their minds, because the film is prioritizing its more fantastical plots, but we do see the gears turning in these parents' heads before they eventually demonstrate a better understanding of how to raise a free spirit.
Wherever you go from here, you have to promise to take care of that little boy for me. Make sure he never forgets where he came from. And he never doubts that he is loved.
Spliced in with all of this relationship drama is the ongoing threat of our villain though. You see, after the collider in the first film was destroyed, the impact mutated a lab technician into the Spot. At first, this antagonist seems like your typical baddie of the week, all because he's just a dork with teleporting skills, who comes off as way too desperate to be Miles' nemesis, which is actually hilarious. The Spot has inherited awesome superpowers, but he's still the same awkward and clumsy geek as before, and everyone refuses to see him on par with the likes of Doc Ock or the Kingpin. Heck, a big reason why the first fight against the Spot helps ease audiences into the sequel is because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a battle between a cocky professional superhero and a newbie supervillain that has clearly never done any of this before. The whole fight riddled with one hysterically silly gag after another. However, as funny as the Spot is at the beginning, we do end up forgetting that this is still a scientist. His supervillain persona may be far from cool, but it's actually incredibly foolish to see him as harmless, downright dangerous even. What the Spot lacks in slick badassery, he overcompensates for with an impeccable understanding of advanced tech, and Setnak is his key to living up to the dark rogue image that he badly wants, as this lab geek becomes a terrifying entity that makes our skin crawl. Our heroes are up against a vengeful and petty man-child that's now the most powerful force in the multiverse.
I'm gonna take everything from you. Like I took everything from you.
Speaking of, I think that we should move on to where things go once we actually enter the multiverse. I'll confess that not only does a lot change from here on out, but there's also quite an amount of stuff to take in as an audience. Sure, the first hour has this odd comical moment or lively fight scene, but it's mainly dedicated to internal character studies and relationship drama. It's a subdued first half that takes its patient time to unpack family dysfunctions or convoluted feelings. Once we step through the portal though, it's like we're jumping into another movie altogether. Which sure makes sense when we're literally hopping into alternate worlds, and this side of Miles' life has always been colourful compared to his unmasked one, but boy is there a whopping difference in tone, rhythm and structure in post-portal scenes. I've come to notice that the middle part of this film is essentially one long adrenaline-fueled chase scene, as the movie asks us to keep up with the web-slinging hunt for the villain, giant disasters caused by the Spot, and the introductions of two brand new characters. Look, don't get me wrong, Pavitra is an adorably chipper lad with an earnest cultural pride. I love the dude.
I love chai tea.
What did you just say?
Chai tea, chai means tea, bro. You're saying tea. Would I ask you for a coffee with room for cream?
Plus Hobie, he's a fantastic representation for black punks, a cool as hell bloke, and a very accurate portrayal of the average London lad.
Big step up, yeah, mate.
What's this dude saying?
It's English for we got along great and we're close friends.
Is this the younger from 1610?
Do you understand this guy?
It's just a bit much to slide these introductions into an already very busy and long scene. A scene that keeps us constantly overloaded, and we don't get a chance to stop until we arrive at the Spider Society. Which isn't even that much of a breather now that I think about it, because it too has a lot going on, as it parades an army of countless Spider-Verse cameos, while also delivering as much exposition as it can to Miles. I'm not saying that these references are bad, or that anything we learn is pointless, it just all makes it feel like the fast momentum and overstimulation from before is still going. I mean, we've technically gone from running after the Dalmatian man in a crowded India, to taking a walking tour towards Dark Garfield in an overpopulated building, resulting in a very noticeable pacing issue, and a bit too much sugar in our popcorn bucket. A problem that's sparked further by how our next stop is Miguel, who not only asks us to now pay full attention to a lot of world-building explanation, and his own detailed backstory, but also drops the heavy as hell truth about Miles' dad. The film handing the complex debate of multiverse ethics to us out of nowhere.
Okay, what about Uncle Ben? That'd have been okay if you knew and you just let it play out?
If not for Uncle Ben, most of us wouldn't be here, Miles.
Only to then abruptly cut this discourse short so that we can have yet another chase scene. Movie, I just put my philosophy cap on. Wait. Are these scenes investing to watch as self-contained moments? Yes, totally. Like how this scene uses claustrophobic blocking and burning red lighting to show an already upset Miles gradually reaching his breaking point, or dauntingly low camera angles to frame Miguel as a towering stern judge.
Can't ask me not to save my father. I'm not asking.
Miguel, just give him the second.
Great look.
Plus, the final chase itself is a staggering set piece to behold. Not only does this fugitive pursuit go to great lengths to show how scarily outnumbered our hero is, but it also lets Miles' sense of betrayal awkwardly fester and linger in the air, thus giving us an action climax that can only be described as a sticky web of stress, fear, and discomfort.
You knew? You all knew?
I didn't know how to tell you.
It's just how all of these great scenarios are packaged and placed next to each other that's, well, a lot. These are S-tier new characters. This is a compelling part in the film, and all the comic book callouts are neat. I'd just like a little break or two in between everything. Pretty please? For example, let us spend some laid-back time with Pavitra and Hobie before all the heavy stuff kicks in. Just something to pace things better, so that it doesn't feel like we're just watching a Spider-Verse best scenes clip reel. Now, I did hear a lot of folks also complaining about the aesthetic of the first film being doubled down this time, with some people even reporting nausea or headaches from all the non-stop glitching, flashing, and spectrum of many hues. Personally, I'm quite the sucker for pastel colours and the overall cyberpunk aesthetic, so I found myself eating up all of the neon wave visuals like delectable chocolate, no matter how intense they became at points. I'm sorry, but I can't pretend like this specific look of the film particularly bothered me. I also wouldn't say that the whole entire movie shares this same vibrant aesthetic, because we also have the muted and desaturated colours of the concrete New York, and the scenes set in India are primarily made up of warm tones or golden palettes. On the other hand though, I still think that it's very valid for folks to criticise the more garish visuals, especially those with epilepsy or other sensory issues. Bias aside, I get why selective audiences maybe came out feeling sick or dizzy. Heck, if you're already exhausted by the fast-whizzing pace and constant momentum of the multiverse scenes, then I wouldn't blame you for seeing the film's experimental visuals as yet another thick layer of overstimulation.
It's super humane and not creepy.
To be honest though, my only real grievance with this film's animation is squarely aimed at the behind-the-scenes controversy. According to a few artists that worked on the film, the animators behind this movie were overworked and underpaid. On top of this poor treatment and over-demanding crunch time, producer Phil Lord was accused of running poor management, from demanding reshoots of already approved shots to showing a huge lack of direction in what he wanted. This toxic work environment was made even worse when a last-minute happy ending was rushed into production before release. I get that the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse had a lot to live up to, and that this franchise's distinct visuals require heavy amounts of work, but these are not excuses to treat animators with disregard. These are skilled artisans that are making the movie exist. and they deserve their humanity. As a fan who happens to also be an animator, I'd rather patiently wait a long time for a Spider-Verse sequel than sit through an animated movie while uncomfortably knowing that those that worked on it were mistreated. The industry needs to change already and stop weirdly normalizing abusing animators like it's part of their job, because it isn't and it shouldn't be. Okay, let's finally address another polarizing aspect of this film, that being its ending. So once Miles manages to escape the Spider Society, I was expecting the film to end right there, and that would have been fine with me. A finish to the movie that would have bookended the final chase, while setting up a third film that explores where Miles ends up. Instead, this film, despite now being at the 2-hour mark, just keeps going, not only dragging out the tension of Miles landing in a different universe, but also showing Gwen taking her time to slowly realize what's going on. The film is finally slowing down just when it should be drawing to a close. Then, the movie drops the shocking reveal that the Miles in this universe is actually the Prowler, and bam, we're given a cliffhanger. A conclusion that prevents Across from feeling like a complete standalone movie, which I would say is one of the biggest downsides to this sequel. It really screams middle chapter syndrome, and you can tell that the filmmakers are a tad too focused on setting up movie 3 instead of letting the film at hand play out naturally and be its own thing. Okay, sure, Empire Strikes Back had a cliffhanger too, but it didn't suddenly stop right before Luke fought Vader. Now yes, to be fair, the last-minute addition of Gwen rallying the troops does wrap up her personal arc neatly, showing how she's now confident and free after finding acceptance from her father and liberation from the Spider Society's strict authority. But a slapped-on, idealistic ending doesn't change the fact that Miles' story abruptly cuts off while he's dangling in danger. I can 100% understand some fans utterly loving this kind of juicy, dark cliffhanger, but I just see it as a product of today's binging culture, and modern media's obsession with using loose endings to keep consumers wanting more, as well as the superhero film industry's habit of using new releases endings as a marketing excuse to tease future movies, both intentions seeming redundant in hindsight, when Beyond the Spider-Verse is now in production hell and has been delayed twice. Look, I know that a chunk of this review had me complaining my heart out, and maybe I'm not really reflecting an overall positive verdict. However, I do really like this film. It's a very fun and imaginative adventure with a lot of the same delicious ingredients as the first film. I just think that it's less polished and tight compared to its superior predecessor. Across is not a lump of coal, but a beautiful sparkling diamond that came out of the factory a bit crooked and chipped. The passion and labor behind the film really shows in spades, but it's clear that the higher-ups in charge sadly got in the way. I've been Jambriki. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Cheerio, folks.